Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It looks like this is really a burning question, since you are so many here. Probably the answer will not be a simple yes, so you don't need to escape just now. You can stay for half an hour. But indeed, this is not actually a new topic. You know, for a long time, people have been afraid that their creation can actually turn on them. Remember the Frankenstein creature of more than 100 years ago, or the Golem methodology. But it's true that a kind of a pop culture today, with the movies of science fiction, have brought this idea that computers and more precisely artificial intelligence can turn against the humanity. Nobody has, of course, forgotten the Space Odyssey, where the computer starts to act his own mission. Of course, everybody is quoting Terminator, which becomes the humanity's worst enemy in a way. And you might have seen some other very nice movies like Ex Machina, which is actually a robot which is here to pass the Turing test, which is the test of artificial intelligence. And then on the end of the movie, you discover that actually the machine will actually fight for his survival at the expense of the humanity. And of course, Westworld is a very popular blockbuster as well. So there's a lot of these momentum in the culture, and it's hard to read an article in the press that would not put a focus on this frightening possibility of AI. Now, if you look what is really ongoing, it is true that AI can get word, really word. Not mention all of these examples here, but let me just take one or two of these. Microsoft put a chat box on the web, so very famous, that actually was learning from the interaction with the users. But the users were malicious in a way, or at least they were playing a game, and they became really racist. And guess what? After less than 24 hours, the chatbot, the AI, was very racist. You know, chatbot would be a racist asshole in less than 1 day. I like the other one coming from Japan. In Japan, there was one hotel that had difficulty to recruit humans. So they decided to put in place robots powered by AI to do the task of reception, leading people to their room, billing, explaining, and so forth. They installed 243 robots in the hotel. After a relatively short time, there were so many errors, the tourists were so upset that the hotel actually needs to recruit people to correct the bugs of the robots. Incidentally, they have recruited more people than they would recruit if they would just start without the robot. So at the end, they laid off 24 robots, which became in the history the first robots that lose their jobs. Okay, so you can say humanity is turning on the robots in this particular case. And there are many other examples that you can read, at least the titles. Now, what this example shows is not that AI is going against the humanity. It shows it's not functioning properly. And the difference between an AI that has a goal to act against humanity or an AI that actually doesn't work properly is enormous. There are many machines that doesn't work properly. I give you a private information. My washing machine doesn't really wash every time the way I want. And after a really deep investigation, I found that the reason was not because the machine wants to hurt me, but just because it was a machine. And so this is also a signature of a machine, not of intelligence. By the way, you know, the name of artificial intelligence was invented 60 years ago. And I'm not really sure that the inventors have been much inspired by using the word intelligence, because the artificial is much more true than the intelligent one. If you try to compare a little bit what is the comparison as we speak between some of the human capabilities and some of the machine, For sure, machine has more memory because you just need to stack memory, and here you go. You have much more memory in the machines. You have much more processing power, and you see that in the computers. You have much more connectivity that a human, as a human being, can handle. And there are some tasks which are quite specialized tasks, like vision, language recognition, and structured problem solving, where machine can be as good as the human and sometimes better. But there's a lot of tasks where the AI is not at the speed, at the level of the human creativity. Today, none of the AI is capable to create. They can mimic a Rembrandt painting if they saw a lot of Rembrandt painting, but they will not invent Picasso. They don't have any emotion. It's emotion-free. They don't have any empathy. You can derive some empathy to the robots, but the robot will not give any empathy back to you. There's no consciousness, so the fact that they are building a secret plan is just not going to happen. They are very bad at multitasking and the physical cognitive interfaces. Even on the task where they are excellent, like face recognition, you know that machine today is doing face recognition better than the human. When you look at the power that the brain consumes to make this task and what the machine does, it is really at a very strong advantage of the human. In the Go game, where you know the machine actually surpassed the world champion in Go, the human has consumed something like 20 watts in the brain while playing Go, but actually thinking of many other things. The machine had order of magnitude more power consumption than the human. A machine needs to see thousands, sometimes millions of faces to be very pertinent of the face recognition. Very luckily, a children doesn't need to meet his mother 1 million times before he starts to call her mom, right? Because he makes a lot of connection. The physical contact, the experience, the smelling, the tonality, there's much richer information than just the face. And the machine is unable to do that. Of course, we can always say that as the times go on, the things on the right-hand side will appear. But today, we even don't know exactly how it functions in the brain. And so there's not any proof that this will appear by accident or just by scaling up. If you look about scaling up, one of the strongest, biggest HPC high-power computer is in China. He has 10 million parallel multi-core processors and billions of connectivity. On some parameters, it is close to the complexity of a brain in some numbers. It does consume 15 megawatt of power, which means that if you make robots with the human power, we don't have any energy left in the Earth as we speak. But more importantly, despite the fact that it is a million times more efficient than any PC you have, there is not the beginning of any consciousness appearing. So these things on the right, they are not appearing by magic just because you scale up your device. So there are other things. Whether we will find them, nobody knows. So you can actually defend both teams, but as we speak, there is no evidence of that. But what we have evidence, and the examples shown before, is that it can get worse. The AI can dysfunction. And let's try to see that. And let's try to comment some of the misbehavior that you can encounter on one particular technique, which is machine learning and deep learning, which is one of the most popular ones. These techniques, these algos are based on data. And the example of Microsoft shows is the quality of the data gives the quality of the response. If you have bad quality of the data, if you have compromised data, if somebody has playing a role, a game, and giving wrong data to it, the result will be very poor. It could be completely false. But there are more subtle things like data biases. Data can be biased without you to know it. Imagine you take photos of people doing sport from the web, and you will learn the machine to recognize what sport people are playing. It might be that many of the people playing tennis will be white people. Many of the people playing ping pong will be from Asia. And the machine will, without you knowing it, associate the color of the skin to the sport. And this is a kind of unconscious bias. There might be many of them. So the data handling is where the problem of AI starts. The other part is the AI itself, particularly in the deep learning. We used to say this is a black box. And you will have other people saying, no, 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 this is not a black box. We know exactly how the neuron works, how the connectivity works, and so forth. Yes, we know because we build it. We know how this is working inside. But at the end, it is a process of millions of interactions and propagation of the signal. And it is a statistical result. The problem is that you don't have any proof that the result that is given by the machine is the right one. So how you trust that? Imagine you are a pilot. Imagine that you have a co-pilot, which is artificial intelligence. Imagine then the artificial intelligence tell you, please turn left, without any extra information. The pilot looking outside, and he's an experienced pilot, looking the instruments, he would rather prefer to go straight on. So does he believe blindly the machine or follow his experience? Now, if the machine said, please turn left, because you didn't saw the airplanes at this altitude, the storm behind is because I crossed the data with the land observation, it's much more severe that your onboard instrument shows. So these are the reasons why I recommend turn left. This is what we call explainable AI, which today does not exist on deep learning. And we are working hard to combine the deep learning with other techniques in order to force the machine to explain what are the reasons behind the decision. So when people say deep learning is not explicable, it doesn't mean that we don't know how it functions. It means that the result is not explained. And this is one big element of it. Well, the things are also very connected. They may be even connected in data collection. The AI is itself a very connected component. And then, you know, the more connectivity, the more problems you can potentially have. So this is one area of scrutiny as well. There are others, but let's stay at this point. To show you how you can actually force an AI to give you a wrong response, I'll show you one example. What you see on the left is a panda, right? It is a panda. The algo that was trained on the animal recognition say it is a panda with 57.7% of accuracy. So this is a good answer, even though the machine is a little bit hesitating, but this is the highest probability that it gives to this animal. So we agree, that's the right answer. And then people have added this information to it. This is not a random distribution. It has been calculated by something that is called adversarial AI, which actually will manipulate things, and this signal will be superimposed to this image. And so the resulting image is this one. You hardly see any difference. For me, it's still a panda. You agree this is a panda? Okay. The machine that say this is a gibbon. And the accuracy of my response is 99.3%. So in practice, imagine you have a car that has a road traffic signal recognition. We can force the AI and change the McDonald's advertisement at the board of the road so that the machine say stop. So how do you trust? And again, this is not because the machines want to be nasty with you. It's a machine. And machine has some negative drawbacks. Now, the things I told you are all related to these massive data algos that is deep learning is the most famous one. The question is that, is AI only massive data and deep learning? Is that what is the definition of the AI? And here, I guess you will have many different definitions in Vivatech. Maybe not as many as people, but many different. But I don't like to define a function from a technology. A function is a function. So I would rather define AI as the ability by a machine to perform a certain number of tasks, like perceive information that is difficult to understand, to learn, which means evolve during the time, to abstract, which is giving name. You know, if you see animal and you see this is an animal is one, if you say this is a panda, you make another step of abstraction because you name the entity, and of course the capacity to reason. And what is behind that is mathematics, of which the deep learning, which is based on neural networks, is only one technique. There are many other ones. In fact, there are many. There is one family of the algorithmics which is based on model of know-how, knowledge, which is in a way deterministic, so to speak. And there is one which is stochastic, probabilistic, which is database, of which machine learning belongs to. For instance, there are techniques that in some cases are much superior to deep learning. Take what is called genetic algorithm. Genetic algorithms makes to a mathematical formula what Darwinism makes to life, which means that you will have different algos, they will marry together, they will have children, you will evaluate if children are performing right, those that perform right will survive, they will multiply themselves, they will have another generation, so after a certain number of generations, you will have the best survivor, the best mathematical survivor. And in some cases, in Thales, we did that on cybersecurity. It's a better proposition than deep learning. One example from a startup we are very close to, they actually powered air simulator with the AI, which was based on genetic algorithms, fuzzy logic, and decisional tree. And they used these simulator against another simulator where there was an Air Force pilot, a very experienced Air Force pilot. The human never survived. Never, ever. I can bet you cannot do this today with deep learning. So the really problem of the AI is about trust, how you trust this stuff, okay? And I think that there are kind of three levels of trust. The first one is declarative. Please trust me, I'm a very nice guy. I have a lot of experience, I'm not lying to you, please trust me. Well, if you are good people, you may be trust, but you might be wrong in trusting me. The second level of trustness is to work on what I called before the explainable AI. The AI that actually justify what it does with element that the human can understand in real time. This is the step we are in. The second one is certifiable. The certifiable means that there is an independent organization that check all the stuff, and there might be a mathematical proof of how it functions. Not all AI are ready to go to this level. And in the community where Thales is in what we call a critical systems, aviation, defense, security, transport, mobility, you really need to be at this level. And this is not given to everybody. You certainly don't need this to use AI in your social network. But the counterpart is that the AI of your social network is not good enough to reach this level of requirement. So let's conclude with this. I think that the fear, brought by all the discussion about the AI and the AI as being the enemy of the humanity is a wrong one. Still, the worst enemy of the humanity is the humanity itself. So it's more about the usage, how we regulate the usage of this technology. Because of course, like any technology, you can misuse it. And you can have malicious use of this technology. So there's quite a lot of discussion on what has to be regulated, how you verify that the database is not biased, how you verify that everything is cyber secured, how you verify that the algo itself cannot be hacked, and so forth and so on. And we are discussing this in a number of circumstances, including in the United Nations, where there is a group discussing that for particular use. So this is the thing that has to be done and will be done. And our belief is that we are not talking at all of the same type of intelligence as the human, but this kind of machine or human or artificial intelligence will actually augment the capability of the human intelligence by kind of partnership, being assistant. And for this, we need to develop very strongly the cooperation between the human and the machine, and having the way of dialogue, which could be other things than words, could be images, can be tactile, whatever, but the interfaces in which we will be sure that what I want to say to the machine is understood by the machine in the right way, and vice versa. So these research items of man-machine interaction, I think, is completely boosted today by the appearance on the AI and the willingness to develop an AI that is trustable and, of course, ethical as well, because behind that, there's a lot of ethics discussion as well. So hope that you will not escape from Vivatech. The world, we are not living the end of the world because of AI. We can be confident, but like anything, we have to use it by knowing what it is, like the data on the web. Have a happy Vivatech sessions. Thank you.